Hi, I'm Rhea Seehorn, and I was just talking to Kara on Really Famous Podcast. And it does feel like you're talking to your best friend, which is making me a little anxious that I said things I shouldn't have said. But this is a great podcast, and now I'm going to go back and listen to all of them. It's definitely a good conversation.
This is Really Famous. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson, and I interview famous people. But I don't just interview them like your typical interview. I'm not really interested in those same old questions. Instead, I like to know who they really are and what they really think. My guest today is Rhea Seehorn. Rhea is an actor on the show Better Call Saul. Just a little background, Better Call Saul is the prequel to Breaking Bad. So if you've watched Breaking Bad, you'll probably want to watch Better Call Saul. If you haven't watched Breaking Bad, you should watch it. And Better Call Saul, by the way, is one of these really well-made dramas. The cinematography is incredible, just like it was on Breaking Bad. The writing is superb. The characters, like there are so many layers to each of the characters on the show. You'll also see some characters pop up from Breaking Bad, so it's all good. Anyway, you can see seasons 1 through 3 on Netflix, and season 4 comes out on August 6th on AMC. But just a little background, Better Call Saul is based on a character from Breaking Bad named Saul Goodman, who is a lawyer. But at the beginning of Better Call Saul, he is called Jimmy McGill. So Jimmy McGill also has a brother named Chuck McGill, and he is played by the actor Michael McKean, who I also had on Really Famous. And that is one of my favorite interviews. So if you want to hear that chat, for sure, go into the episode notes and pull up my interview with Michael McKean. Anyway, Rhea plays a character named Kim Wexler, who is also a lawyer and who works with Jimmy McGill. Rhea was in New York recently, so we met up and hung out in her hotel room. She kicked up her feet on the couch, I set up all my equipment, and we hung out and just had a conversation. Kick back and totally relax, please.
Okay.
Because this is just like totally informal, like we're just gonna have a conversation.
Great.
So it's called Really Famous, just so you have a little background.
Yes, and everyone loves it, but I only just started listening to it.
Oh, okay.
My apologies.
Please. Do you have some creepy fans, I'm wondering?
Of course. Of course. For the most part, I've had really nice fans, but people are strange.
Like, what do they do? Tell me some strange stories. Let's get into the fun stuff.
Well, it's, there's also, this is very sweet, because I mostly have just super nice, very respectful fans that want to talk about the show or the character or any of the characters they've loved me playing, and that's a fun conversation. They want to tell you what was accessible to them and what made them think and what was interesting and this, that, and the other. And every now and then you do get someone who honestly is having trouble digesting that you are outside of the television, and like
they think you're a mirage or something.
They can't get a hold of themselves.
Yes.
And they're having trouble speaking. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, I've behaved that way a few times in my life, so I feel for them. So I just think I want them to walk away from this and later be able to tell someone that they did meet me and had a conversation with me. So I try to say, what is your name? But I've had people just stumble. They cannot get their own name out, and they start falling apart. But that's just cute. That's flattering.
Okay, so who did you get that way with?
The writer George Saunders. I literally acted like old films of people meeting the Beatles. Just crying, standing in line to have my book signed, and then attempting to control myself, and it didn't work. Trish Almeida, who's now become a close friend of mine, she does my hair on Better Call Saul, the famous ponytail, and she also does Al Pacino's hair.
Yeah, she does your ponytail, and Al Pacino's like up hair.
Different films of his, like Paterno and The Irishman, right? Isn't that in the new Scorsese one?
Yes.
And lots of other stuff. She's been around him for a while, but he he invited her and a couple of our cast to go up to see Salome when he was doing it at the Santa Fe Opera House. And we went backstage and we got to meet him. And he's so nice. And you could see he's trying to make this experience normal for you, but you can't stop. Just giant frozen grin, and you know you're acting like an idiot, but you cannot control yourself. I could not.
It's Al Pacino.
It's Al Pacino, and then a part of your brain keeps saying it's so weird that he looks and sounds like Al Pacino, which just makes zero sense. But yeah, you have an experience, I guess, on a much lesser scale that someone is having when they're talking to me, where they just. You can't, well, he's such an icon as well, so it was sort of insane that this person, like, how are you just walking around? Don't we have to keep you in a glass box in a drawer and then just take you out for special occasions or something?
Yeah.
But he was so nice and normal.
That's crazy.
I mean, not normal, he's Al Pacino, but
yes.
fantastically
I mean, he's
normal.
one of the icons. Like, he's right, exactly. There's so many icons, but he's really like at the top of the top. He is fresh on my mind because I had to do a little research over the weekend for somebody I'm interviewing later this week who is in The Godfather Part 3.
Oh, okay.
And of course, I know everything about The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2, but I never watched The Godfather Part 3.
I've never seen 3.
Well,
either.
Don't bother.
No? Are you allowed to say that?
Are
you interviewing
this
someone
is
who's in
real.
it?
He was in it a long, long time ago, but I do.
What are you going to say if he says, how did you like Godfather Part 3?
He's not going to ask me because he knows that the answer would be, I didn't like it, because everyone knows it's really, it was funny, I was also talking to my daughter the other day about it was like a travesty and a tragedy. Mm-hmm. There's a difference in the two words. We're talking about semantics, but never mind that. But it really was like, it should not be, it is a crime. Oh, Godfather, I'm not going to say all this, but Godfather Part 3 is a crime to Godfather and Godfather Part 2. Don't say it.
But don't lead with that in the interview with him.
You don't think that would be a good start? He has done a million things since then.
What if his response was like, thank God somebody finally said it. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Let's just get in there.
Well, I think I am gonna ask him. Maybe you can give me a little advice. So I feel like you can't, it's the elephant in the room. You can't not address it. If he feels uncomfortable, he just won't want to talk about it, and then we won't talk about it. I won't put him in a weird position. But at the same time, it's like, he has got to have heard this, or he has to know this for so many years. So
correct.
Isn't it like, why are we gonna pretend? Like, let's just talk about it. I'm not as a zing. How does it feel? How about this question? I'm going to cut all of this because I can't because of him.
I like it.
But let's just say it now. I'm going to say it. But like, should I just say something like, okay, how does it feel to be in the only Godfather that is a disgrace against mankind?
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not a better slant on it at all.
Moving on. Cutting.
Miriam Seldis was another one. Famous New York theater stalwart. Who
so
unfortunately passed away. I was an understudy that got to go on Broadway, and Jerry Zaks has the understudies have to be at rehearsal the whole time, and I used to just stare at her, and it could not, again, as I was describing her, I couldn't control myself. One of those things where in your head you're telling yourself, stop. This is not okay at this point. There's catch a glimpse, then there's staring, and then there's you are really going to upset somebody. I could not stop. And luckily she was very gracious in all of her velvet robing, and she was just fantastic. And then when I had my debut, the stalwarts, Alex Corey, Louis Zorich, Louis Statland, Bill Moore, the late great David Margulies, all these people were in it, and so they all had these solo grand bows, and then I was sort of more with the ensemble. But she knew that it was my Broadway debut, so when they were all finished, she did a grand gesture for me to come back up to the front, and at the Richard Rodgers Theater, and then there was like mass applause because she let people know that it was my debut. She was lovely. She was absolutely lovely.
That was like such a gift she gave you.
Oh yeah, no, I was obsessed with her.
Yeah.
Who was I just talking to? I'm trying to think. Well, I just met John Patrick Shanley, playwright, and. Again, you can see when someone of that caliber is working to make sure that you're calm. But he happens to be a fan of the show and my work, so I was able to at least then, have a way into having a conversation instead of just
that is cool. So also, I think that it's probably nice that you have the show because so many people do know it, and so many people not just do they know it, but they're like big fans, right? Like you have the people who love it, love it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would think that would kind of be nice that no matter who you're running into,
It is, but there's plenty of people that don't that don't know. There's also a lot of people that don't know it. There's people that haven't seen the show, but it's so funny. There's a lot of people that they know you that are fans of the show, but they still can't put one and one together. What they're thinking, what their, I guess, cognitive reasoning is telling them is that they know you from real life. Where do I know you from? And that's always weird, because you don't know, should I list my resume like an asshole, or just let this person string it out? Because some people will not give up. They start guessing what state I went to high school, and do you work at the so-and-so, and it's this, and I'll never forget when I was on Whitney, the sitcom Whitney, we had all gone out, and there was this deli that a lot of us went to lunch at a lot, and we would go together on the break before live show, and people recognize Whitney constantly, obviously, and then Crystalia is doing a lot of stand-up, and then more and more that was Zoe Lister-Jones and Malik, and for whatever reason at this one deli, like it was never me, and I wasn't dying to be recognized, but after a while you did feel weird that you're sitting with the whole cast and they're still not getting it. So one day we're going through the line, and this deli does not exist anymore.
What was it?
Charlie's Pantry. It was in Studio City. I'm sad it's gone. It was really great. But we're coming through the line, and it's sort of almost Jones on Third kind of deli. You're ordering sides and stuff and pushing your tray down. And the cashier woman, this is so bad. The cashier woman goes, oh my God, I know you. I know you. And she gets all excited, and none of the rest of them. So they're sort of smiling, like, good, very good.
Finally.
And looking at me, and it's one of only 2 times in my life that I jumped the gun to say, oh, I'm so glad you like the show, which I'll never do again. That's why I don't help people if they can't figure it out, because what if they don't watch your show?
Right.
So I said, I was like, oh yeah, from Whitney, and I'm gesturing because my whole cast is standing there. And by the way, we're around the corner from CBS Radford where it shoots, and there's a giant billboard. And she goes, what? No, from this place called Big Chill, which is a frozen yogurt place on a different street right by the studio. She's like, no, from Big Chill, like around 3:30 every day, which is when we'd have a break. She's like, you're always in the corner, like eating frozen yogurt by yourself, and you're like, ah, and she's doing this horrible, like animal scooping motion.
So like the George Costanza at the U.S. Open?
She's an assistant manager there.
Oh,
she's like, I work at
so
places.
funny.
She's like, that's you, right? You're always by yourself, always? With frozen yogurt? I was like, yes.
So that tells me she didn't know anybody from the cast then. She didn't, if that's what's going on.
Didn't, but she did try to follow up by saying, she said, what did you say about the TV show? You're on a show? And I was like, no, nothing.
So Zoe Lister-Jones was on Whitney too?
Yeah, she's fantastic.
She was on Really Famous as well. I interviewed her.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
She's so great.
She's one of a kind for sure.
Yeah.
She had a great movie out last summer.
Yes.
Called Band-Aid.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great movie.
I know.
So she's so funny.
Super talented, super funny.
Yeah. So that's so funny. So were you on the billboard that she somehow missed it?
No.
Okay, just Whitney was.
Just Whitney and I think Crystalia. But yeah, so.
Okay.
It's always a weird thing. And then there's also the, this is a good one when people will say, they'll say, you're on Better, I know you from Better Call Saul, you're on Better Call Saul. And they don't actually qualify it by saying that they like it. So then there's a weird just stand.
Yes, I know what you mean. I see what you're saying.
Well, it's very presumptuous to say like, thank you, because what do you?
Yes.
Thank you for your ability to observe people.
There's nothing to thank them for.
Look at your recognition skills. But for the most part, people are nice, and then obviously there's strange people. I like the compliments that you can't figure out. This guy tweeted me recently, and I have really great fans on Twitter. I love them. But this man tweeted, actually I don't know if it's a man because you couldn't tell from the handle. But the person said, I love that you sound like a man. I think he or she thinks it's a compliment, but great.
What did you take that to mean then?
I have a lower register voice, and they're enjoying it.
Okay.
Isn't that nice?
Okay, that's good. I say it's all good. In fact, now that you said Twitter, you retweeted one of my tweets once, like a year ago. I was quoting Kim Wexler, and it was, tell me if I'm wrong, because I said something like, greatest line of the season or whatever. You don't save me, I save me.
Ann Cherkis wrote that. Great line.
Excellent line.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Well, the writers always tell me they prefer me to say the whole writer's room, because the whole writer's room is writing everything together. But that was Ann Cherkis' episode. Okay. And she's an exceptional writer. And let's just say she wrote that sentence.
So that was...
She probably did.
Yeah, okay. That was a great line, and that to me like embodies the coolest thing about Kim, is that she's like, that I can't even say it better than just that line says it.
No,
and the ponytail too.
Pretty great. Yeah, like working in doc review for days. It's amazing how many people that are fans of the show talk to me about that whole sort of triplet of episodes that involved going to doc review and being stuck there, and montages of just highlighting papers and you don't save me, I save me, and then trying to get a client, getting knocked back down. Yes.
You're a lawyer, and we don't really need to say any more than that, because most people love the show anyway. They're going to know everything about it. But for anybody who doesn't...
It's funny, though, if someone hadn't seen the show, who did I meet? Like someone that was friends with my mom. She's like, oh, what's it about? And I said it was a prequel, and I said it's an origin story of two people that appear in Breaking Bad, but she had not seen Breaking Bad either. And then I started to stumble because I thought, it's very hard not to spoil that. And even she said, well, what do you play? And I said, I play a lawyer. What's your relationship with Jimmy? And I said, that's part of season 1's discovery that I think I wouldn't want to ruin that for somebody. And do you know what I mean? The writers write this show presuming a very high intelligence from the audience, and they don't spoon feed you stuff.
Right, I think that is the audience. I think that's who's drawn to the show generally. It's not for somebody who wants to be spoon fed. There are plenty of other shows that they can watch.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, right. But I don't...
So it's a hard thing to describe if somebody has not seen it.
I'm gonna take a stab at it.
Go ahead.
So it's a prequel to Breaking Bad, which many people have seen, but certainly not everybody. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to explain Breaking Bad, of course, but it was a prequel to Breaking Bad, and if you have seen it, you know Saul Goodman. So it's basically the story of how he kind of came into who he was when you see him on Breaking Bad.
Yes, as well as Mike Ehrmantraut.
Right, because Mike Ehrmantraut is also...
Yeah.
Yes, he was huge in Breaking Bad, and but I think aren't we surprised to see him at the beginning of Better Call Saul, or was he right there from the beginning? I don't remember.
He's right there from the beginning.
From episode 1?
In the parking toll booth.
Oh, that's right. He was literally there from
and my mom is in Virginia, and she texts me while she's watching the show, and she's never seen Breaking Bad. But her experience was just as rich in storytelling, just different. She's but it was interesting.
Yeah, you don't need to have seen Breaking Bad.
Got stuff that you wouldn't. It's not like they were, hitting you over the head with this. But she would text me, I don't feel right about the guy in the parking booth. I just think there's something wrong with the guy in the parking booth.
She picks up on something.
Yeah,
but there's also something so amazing about the guy in the parking booth.
Right?
Yes.
About being in the parking toll booth? Yeah.
Yeah. There's something, right. Not,
so
you may be feel a little bit reluctant, but at the same time, there's something really, really special about that guy.
Oh, for sure.
Saying. So you don't have to have seen Breaking Bad, I don't think, to watch Better Call Saul. But,
I personally think you should. It's one of the best shows of all time, but...
Definitely.
But it is not... You don't have to have seen it to enjoy Saul.
Did you watch it in real time before you got the job?
Yes.
Breaking Bad?
Yes. Not as it aired. I was late to it and then binge watching it.
Did you had seen it already, though, when you got the gig?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So
and before I even auditioned, yeah.
Was that intimidating then? Because it is one of the greatest shows of all time.
Very much so. I thought about, when I got the audition, I thought about trying to cram and watch at least whatever, just the last season again or something like that. And then I thought that's just going to intimidate me more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also to go in and try to mimic a style or a tone would sort of be deadly, I think. You should know if you're going in for a farce versus a sitcom versus a drama on cable versus a drama on network, whatever. But I knew the tone they normally do. But the other thing is nobody really knew what they were doing with the show. Is it going to be a comedy? Is it going to be? So I asked those sort of questions, and then the sides, as is usually the case with many auditions these days, because of constant leaks online, you get fake sides, you have fake scenes. So I wasn't entirely sure what Kim would do.
Are parts of the script that you get like right before you are in that episode or whatever.
Well, for an audition, it's...
for the audition,
Yeah. And then there's a callback that might have different sides. But yes, it's a couple of pages of a script. And in this case, when they're fake sides, that means it's a scene that is not part of the actual script. Sometimes completely different characters. Sometimes it's a scene that is from episodes far down the line. In this case, it wasn't. It was a completely separate thing. So, it was a little bit of a mystery trying to figure it out. And I was intimidated. And then by the screen test, but it was with Sharon Bialy and Sherry Thomas and Russell Scott, and they are casting directors in Los Angeles that are among a handful of casting directors that really direct the scenes and are extremely buoying and enabling of an actor doing their best, rather than see like, how good are you in the worst possible circumstances, which sometimes is what it feels like in front of producers, in front of casting anything. You feel like, is this trial by fire to see, are you able to do good work if I look at my phone and eat the whole time, and you can hear everybody else's audition through the wall and this, that, and the other.
So you think they do that purposely?
I don't, but I think they're wondering. I don't think it's manipulative as much as an assumption that if you're good, you should be able to work no matter what. And these are the circumstances we have. I don't think anybody, gosh, I hope nobody's actually that evil, but maybe they are. It doesn't make sense.
Maybe it's not even evil, it's just practical.
It could be a power trip. Yeah, I'm sure there must be someone, a producer or a director or casting person out there that does feel that way. But Sharon, because Vince and Peter were already in Albuquerque scouting for locations and getting ready for the show, it was just them putting you on videotape, which can sometimes feel very removed. Like, what if the director had a note for me that is a different take? Like, my choices are perfectly valid, but that's not the direction they're doing the character, and now I missed out on that. And it can be, you can feel quite, I know a lot of actors feel the same as I do, that it would kind of be like going in any other career, going on a job interview, and they really, really liked you, except they were really hoping that an animal lover would be the next staff member. There would be somebody that loves animals. And you're told that when you get home, and you're thinking, I am. Why didn't anybody just ask me?
Yeah, if only I knew then.
Right. Or they wished you had a certain skill set. They're really looking for somebody who speaks French, but they never asked you. And so that's how I think, I definitely myself, and then a lot of other actors feel when you're not directed, which is actually more often the case. And by that I mean, if I gave you a scene and you were supposed to recreate, if I wrote the scene that we're doing right now, but you've never met either of us, and nobody gave you a description of the characters, or they did, but it was general, and you had to go in and choose everything, like, I wonder if my character has animosity towards the other character. I wonder if there is envy. I wonder if one of them is uncomfortable. I wonder if one of them feels more shy than they're pretending to be. I wonder if one of them hadn't eaten, and so it's physically uncomfortable for the whole interview. So you make all your choices, and that's your job, to make interesting ones that fit a portrait, this little tiny snapshot that you make and go in and present like a 3-minute theater piece. And you, without direction, without somebody saying, if you got direction in an audition, it would be something akin like, that's great, Kara. I want to see, what if this is this first person's interview? Can you make it look a little more like she's struggling to figure out how to do this well? And you're like, of course. And for most actors, it's a joyous thing to say, of course, let's do variations on the theme. Let's do this.
Because you can.
Because you can.
Right, that's what you do.
If you can't, I suppose you'd be horrified, terrified, and run.
But that's what you do. So it's an opportunity to...
That is definitely what I do. Yeah. And I think,
right, but if they don't
I'll refrain from my opinion of people that don't. If they don't, all you did was you took a guess, and that's not really a measure of your talent. And I would say this, if anybody out there who's casting, because Sharon Bialy and Sherry Thomas and Russell, they do this in spades. They make sure you left everything on the floor and send the 500 different takes, or whichever ones they think are most appropriate for the storytelling that's going on. But here's the thing, that why it's good for the other side as well, as there are times when I have been in something where person got it because because the studio or whatever just thought they just are this person. They're just like that, and they just have that quality or whatever, and they quickly find out the person is not directable. And now it's too late.
Right, because that you need to know in that meeting.
That's what I'm saying. It benefits them as well to direct somebody. Even if there's one director friend of mine who said, it was Michael Slovis. He was saying he usually gives somebody direction, even if they are dead on, eerily nailed exactly what he wanted, he will still give them direction, because what if the next scene in the script is this person doing XYZ, and you're going to need to be able to see, can they take direction, and is this a collaborative art form to them? So he always gives direction, and I think it's great. And you will also instantly see who believes this is a team sport, this art form.
So are you saying that there are plenty of people who do not see it that way? Is that what I'm reading?
There are sometimes, and I always think it's weird, because to me, there's nothing more terrifying and more preventative of me doing good work in a scene than if I were to think that this is all about me. That's the most scary thing I can possibly think of doing outside of, can you please do a nude scene while using power tools? Like, that would be like the only worst thing, I think. I feel like that's when I feel freest to do my work, as well as most of the people that I can't think of any person that doesn't fit this description, somebody that I really like their work, that I've ever had the occasion to meet and talk to them about their process, they feel the same. It's got to be terror that makes you act like you're on an island, I think. Because why wouldn't you want everybody to help? The scene's never about you. It's about your scene partner.
Right. It's about the space between the two
100%.
People, right?
Exactly. And it's about the costume that Jennifer Bryant just made, and the makeup that Sherry Montesano did, and the hair that Trish Almeida did, and the line that Ann Cherkis wrote, or Peter Gould show running.
Right, so Kim Wexler is pretty clear, I think. But although she's also kind of not that clear, quite honestly.
I don't find her that clear.
It's funny because, so I had Michael McKean on Really Famous last year.
Yeah.
It was right at the end of the season. He's amazing.
He's amazing.
Holy
he would 100%
cow.
back up what I'm saying about if you can't be generous and present in a scene, then just get off.
Yeah.
Just go. No,
so
we don't have time for you.
I asked him about how he prepared for some of those like huge scenes he had last season.
Oh, the courtroom stuff?
Yeah, the courtroom
Massive.
stuff, exactly.
Did he tell you we didn't leave that room for 5 days, 14 to 16 hours a day?
That he didn't tell me.
And he did it over and over and over.
Oh, really?
How did you say he prepared?
No, he was talking about like how he would learn his lines in his room, because he was basically by himself in the hotel room, because his wife, Annette O'Toole, who was also on the show months later, and she told me a story about
she's fantastic.
How she watched it, like how she and he watched Better Call Saul together.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the coolest thing. Like, she was telling me that like they sit together. I think she's like sitting in front of the couch and he's on the couch, and they're both watching together, and she like looks up at him and she's like, this is so appropriate because I'm so in awe of you when I see you on screen playing Chuck McGill. And it was like really cool. But like, who?
That.
Yes, and of course, who isn't in awe? But we talked about. We got a little track, but so she's in New York or LA or wherever she was at the moment. He's there alone, so he's all this time in his hotel or wherever he's staying, short-term housing or whatever, to just go over the lines over and over and over, so that they just come out. I guess like muscle memory or whatever. And then it's the emotion and everything you see. He's just living. He's just being.
Right.
Chuck. I hope I'm doing that justice. Listen back to history. That's how he described it.
You do the homework, and people have different minutia to the techniques that they have for or tricks or whatever to learning lines. But on our show, it is to the letter, word perfect, and that's because it's not, in my opinion, it's not complete realism or naturalism. The writing, there are incredibly naturalistic dialogue sections, but people also speak in a slightly outside of realistic way. And it is filmed in a slightly outside of realistic way. So there's a kind of poetry, and each of the characters has a different kind. So the idea of like insisting that you make your language more casual or I don't think I'd say it this way. It doesn't sound like me. It's like, well, it's not called Ray, so nobody cares. I would never say that anyway. I mean, certainly 4 years in, you start to wonder like, if Kim were to suddenly be cursing up a blue streak or something, I would question just what are we adding out of curiosity, because they don't do anything accidentally. But
yeah, but I think you're right about Kim being. But I think what I was going to say about Michael was that I think we talked about your character too, and like he had said something like, yeah, she is so complex, I think, and I think that's true. Like is in a way you feel like, oh, I know exactly who Kim is with her ponytail,
right? And
you could see in her, right? The ponytail and the colon semicolon issue,
Post-it notes, and,
all that is so clear. But at the same time, it's like, well, wait, who even is she? Like one of the moments where I felt like, well, I don't even get this was when they were in like a hotel bar or something. She's with Jimmy McGill, and they were doing some scams together or whatever. So he started probably, and then you joined him.
She sort of reluctantly.
Yeah, but then
she was good at it.
Then she was really good at it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, who does she have a wild streak? I feel like she doesn't at all, though. But like maybe she must. And so there is that question, I think, that runs throughout. Do you feel like you know the answer to that, or do you play to that?
No, I mean I build they're like puzzle pieces, and in the beginning in season 1 you knew very little about her, and her speech was incredibly economic, so I try to take the pieces I have and build on that. And I thought, well, if somebody says there's no fat on her speech, usually she says only exactly what needs to be said and nothing else, and actually often prefers silence and just lets people hang themselves around her. And so I took that and I thought, okay, well then who is a person who's that measured in how they speak? And then it started to be, she'd probably be that measured in her gestures as well. So I got very still with the character and very poker faced with the character. And then that it sort of led to me starting to fill in her backstory. To get back to your question, it was like, okay, well if that's point B, if that's where you end up, what would A be? And for me, it meant leaving some type of chaos. And this is all just making up for myself. I like having secrets while I'm acting. And also, joining the mailroom when Jimmy did at a time when she's a little older than the other interns there. That was, more like college age kids in there. So, and she's not from there, she later states, although she will not say where she's from, which was also a very interesting scene with Schweikart and Coakley. But I just started doing the math backwards to say, like, well, what are the most interesting, highest stakes you could put on desperately needing to have control and keep a claw hold into getting into the middle class and going up. And so for me, it was, well, then you came from less and more chaos. And she always, and I also thought this character is more interesting if she intelligently chooses Jimmy versus is snowed by him. And they felt the same. So now you have someone who is very aware that he was and probably still is a scam artist to some degree, coloring just outside of the lines, and exactly how far she's not always sure, but sometimes she is. And she's choosing that as first a best friend, and then as a partner and best friend, romantic partner. And so the fact that you would recognize that in someone and not flinch.
That's an interesting choice.
Right?
Yes.
So those all led me to episode 201. Tom Schnauz wrote that one and directed it, when he tries to show her a scam and she's watching it, and then she participates first reluctantly and then winningly. It all made sense to me. It was shocking to get that script, and then I thought, oh, well, of course.
Right. It all makes sense.
Either she was, or she observed it, or someone in her family did, or she grew up with it. All of those things. It makes sense to me. They've never written any. They're so good. This tapestry they weave, both in multiple storylines and then within your character as well, that anything that's revealed feels embedded from day one. Once you see it, do you know what I mean? It's like you find it like, oh, of course I win knitting competitions.
Right, like, of course.
Nothing feels like a stunt.
Right.
Ever.
So, did you guys wrap already this
We just
new
wrapped
season?
3 days ago.
3 days ago?
Yeah, I was home for 1 day and then I flew here.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you were in Albuquerque for months, right?
5 months.
And then where do you live? You live in LA?
In LA,
okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You are engaged to get married?
Yeah. Yes, he's fantastic.
Okay, so
Graham Larson.
Okay, so I saw a little interview of you because when I do some research, I'm checking out like, okay, I find some interesting little tidbits. I saw a little interview with you, and there's like a story there, right? It was a best friend.
Oh no, it was. I went to La Cara Salon, Rona there that colors my hair, and she's awesome. And but my appointment was messed up, and I was hanging out on a bench, and she was asking me like, who I'm dating or what's going on, and I'm like, nobody, because very shy and weird about saying that stuff. And she said, you know who you should? I said, but if you want to fix me up, I'll take it, because I mean, I don't go to bars, I don't do anything, so I thought like, sure, I'll just, because she knows a lot of people. And she said, oh, you know who you should talk to that constantly has fabulous parties and blah, 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 is this one, Mary Alice. I bet you guys would hit it off. So I sit with this woman on a bench. We do hit it off. By the end of the conversation, I said, you don't need to fix me up. I'd rather make a great girlfriend in this town than a guy for any day. So let's exchange numbers. And she said, no, I do know who you should be dating. I know it. And that was Mary Alice Haney, and she set me up with her ex-husband, who is now my fiance.
It's a little bizarre. So he was her ex-husband at the time, so they weren't just separated, because that would be a little bit trickier.
She was already remarried.
Oh, okay. And she knew, because she knew him so well, and she knew you
She knew me for 45 minutes.
But she knew, she got some sort of, you connected fast friends.
Vibe. Apparently she'd set him up before. I like to pretend that it never...
He had never dated anybody
until she met me.
Okay. So you met, and the rest was history? That was how long ago?
Been together ever since. That was 6 years ago, I think. 6. I think it's 6 years ago.
Okay, so all is good. You're getting married. Do you have a date?
Wait, maybe it's 5.5. I'm not sure. We've been engaged for 3, though.
You've been engaged for 3 years.
Yeah. And everyone always thinks something's wrong. There's nothing wrong.
So what's the story there?
Except me.
What's the explanation?
He had a huge, gorgeous wedding that was so beautiful and lovely that InStyle magazine had to cover it on the Isle of Capri. I think they took over the entire Isle of Capri or something. It was just insane. Plus, she's this incredibly gifted fashion stylist, but now fashion maker, has her own line of dresses. Haney, everybody should buy them. And but it was, and he was a film producer at the time. Now he's a successful realtor at Sotheby's. So this massive party affair, and he loved it, but has no desire to do that all over again. But I have not been married, so he's willing to do whatever I want. He'd do justice of the peace as long as we could bring their boys, and now my boys, with us. Then he'd be fine, but I want something. And I am not... Are you married?
Yes.
What was your wedding like?
Okay, so I was not really into the whole big wedding thing.
I don't want a giant wedding.
Not really.
But I don't want just justice of the peace either.
Right. So,
although there's a certain romantic quality to that.
There is.
Those pictures when you see like somebody really cool and it's like a black and white picture and you're like, oh, you should be on a book cover.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are shades of gray. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other.
That's my issue.
Right. So at the time, I remember I really was like, the whole wedding planning thing, I was like, blah, whatever. I would go and visit places with my mom, and like I'd be like, I'm just depressed looking. Like, I just don't feel like this is me. I don't know why. I was never one of those girls who was like always dreaming of her wedding day.
No, that's just it. I never had the binder under my bed with like wedding dresses. I never thought about it.
Nothing.
Never occurred to me.
I'm with you. So my mom's bringing me around. I'm like, I just don't know. And then I kind of wanted to just go to like the Caribbean or something and do that kind of wedding, like a destination kind of thing. But I knew that like everybody would be disappointed in me or whatever. So finally we saw a place, and I knew instantly that's where I wanted it.
Really?
Yes, it was Rockefeller Center. So we got married at Rockefeller Center in a restaurant called the Sea Grill, and it was like right in the middle of New York City, and it was the summer, and there was just so much. It was so festive, and I felt like this feels like a good way to start a marriage to me.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. How many people? Not a lot. It was maybe 120 or something like that. So it wasn't huge, but it wasn't like teeny.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun. And I have to tell you, like, one of the greatest nights of my life. Like,
really?
So much fun.
I love that.
Yeah, loved it.
You wouldn't change a thing.
Wouldn't change a thing.
That's
and
so good.
I didn't want that. So I'm glad that we did it.
Yeah.
And it's a great memory. And it was just right for me. Like, we got rid of traditions that I thought were dumb, that I was not into. Like, this doesn't feel right to me. And then little things that like I liked, we did.
I like that. I like it. Yeah, I went to just 2 places. Maybe I only went to 1. It's so I shut down whenever I think something is a racket. So Like, I won't participate. As soon as I think the rules are all messed up, I'm like, I'm out. I'm running. I won't even run the race like that. I fold my arms and I take my toys and I go home.
I get that.
So I think I went to one place that was like a vineyard. And it was beautiful, and they had little tables and little chairs and this beautiful breeze and, you know, white gauzy curtain. I was like, this is perfect. And I love the wine. I'm not going to say who it was. And I asked them, so you guys do weddings here? You must do weddings. Oh, yeah. And like 3 minutes in the conversation, the questions of, are you going to want these chairs that are here? I said, you mean the ones that are currently sitting right here? Yes, I would like these to stay. Oh, okay. Because we charge per chair. And then, do you want the tables? And do you want the tablecloths that are on those tables right now? And I asked someone, I said, so you will literally take them out if I don't pay for them, even though they pre-exist?
They live here.
In this room.
Right.
Yep.
And do you want the floor, actually?
Yeah.
And the ceiling?
The ceiling. Oh,
right.
Okay. And then came, are you going to have more than... I think it was like 40 people or whatever. I said, I'm not sure. I'm just like, okay, because anything over 40, for every 20, actually for every group of 20, there has to be a porta potty. Because our sewage system can't handle that many people.
That's like, not good.
Wait, so we're putting porta potties out in front of
this beautiful
vineyard? No, we don't allow that. They have to be at the closest parking lot, which is Home Depot, and then you have to pay for a shuttle to take people back and forth to go to the bathroom.
Not a good option.
Yeah, immediately. And Graham's like talking to someone up in the front lobby, and I come back, just fumes coming out of my face. He's like, what's going on? I was like, we're late. We're not getting married.
But those are the things that will turn you off from getting married. I get that.
I was not happy.
So it's not like an inner thing of like, I don't feel like getting married. It's like a wedding thing?
Yes, I want. It was the same as like the funeral business. I feel like the times of my life, unfortunately,
and having babies too, like the baby supplies.
I heard the baby thing.
That's awesome. A racket.
Yes, and it's not the same cost in apparently any other first world country to have a baby.
Nope, you basically don't need 99% of the things that they make you think that you need.
And they won't. Did you hear that NPR thing where they were trying to just get a hospital and or doctor, OBGYN, to quote the price, because they were saying, what other thing are you expected to buy without being told anything about what the price is?
Right.
And they wouldn't. They were like, well, there could be complications. She's like, okay, fine. Like, let's say a non-complication.
Ballpark.
And then you can do a byline that says a possible C-section would be this much added.
Line items, yes.
Yeah, line items. Let's just, nope, won't do it. And they couldn't get any answers for why it was more expensive than it is in other first world countries. I'm not talking about third world, first world.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I think it's not.
And that's why I didn't have a baby. No, I'm kidding.
But that goes beyond having a baby too. It's like all kinds of medical things. Like it's the same exact thing.
Funeral,
like,
and they're all situations where people are under emotional duress.
Right, and they're taking advantage of that. It's really disturbing.
Makes me so mad.
All right, so you can get married though without.
So I'm just going to go to my grave with resentment. That will work well for marriage, right?
Yeah.
People love that.
So how does he feel about all those rackets or whatever? He agrees,
but then he agrees, but then he's like, well, then let's just do justice of the peace. I'm like, no, I want to do something, but
you find your thing.
I think I would just want to do like a cocktail party where I invite friends. And then they don't realize what's happening, and I clink a glass. I'm like, oh, we're also doing vows, hi, and then that's it.
By the way, that was one of my things when we planned the wedding. I said, I want this to just feel like a cocktail party. I want this to just be a cocktail party. I want everyone to have a good time and it not be wedding-y. Yeah. And that was that was our approach, and it worked, and everybody had a good time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like drinking going on and like dancing going on.
Did you wear a wedding dress?
I did.
Like wedding, like big.
Yeah, I mean, not like enormous. I'm not like one of those trained people or whatever. Like it was a halter top white, like just kind of simple.
I so want you to whip out a picture of you in like a huge ball gown thing.
Yeah, it wasn't like I had a simple wedding dress, and that was into that. And then a friend spilled his rum and coke on it, and it was all fine because it was fun. Who cared? It was a fun night. Oh. So just avoid all the traps. So
I'll do something.
You have stepsons?
Yes.
Okay. Well, almost stepsons.
I mean, they've been calling me stepmom.
How old are they?
They are 9 and 11. 9 and a half and 11.
Those are nice ages.
You'd be really mad if I didn't say the half. Yeah, they're awesome.
Okay, they're cool.
They're so awesome. And my relationship with them and how close I am with them, and I'm very close with them, is completely because of the permission of their parents, the way they co-parent, Mary Alice and Graham, from day one. From the first time I picked up the boys, Mary Alice was on the stoop of the house saying, "You guys, this is Ray. She's amazing. Wait till you meet Ray. Oh my God, you're gonna love her." Blah, blah, blah. She's great. She honestly goes after it with the idea of the more people, it takes a village. The more people loving my children, and for them to love, the better they're going to be. And she's amazing. And Graham's the same way with their amazing stepdad, Tom. So that's how they see it as very normal.
Good family. It's really like a lot of resources for the kids.
Yes.
And a lot of nice relationships.
Yeah.
And they're all different, I'm sure.
Yeah, and they've had some great teachers as well. That I did not grow up with this mentality at all, but I think it's somewhat the era. I feel like you knew, even before my parents were divorced, I remember being in 4th grade and you knew the 2 kids in class whose parents were divorced. You knew who they were and you felt a little bit sad for them. And now it's usually it's 2 people whose parents are not divorced in the room. Right. I feel like.
Right. I think you're going to say you're sad for them because they should be divorced.
I did have one. I did grow up with one friend of mine, Mark, who we used to carpool together to. I went to an art school after regular school, and we would carpool there. And his parents lived in separate bedrooms in their house. And not in a cool, like Kate Hepburn and Spencer Tracy separate house way, but because they had no relationship. They rarely spoke to each other unless it was necessary. They could not stand each other. And they did not spend time together in the living room together, nothing. But would tell Mark all the time, we're staying together for the kids. We're staying together until you guys are out of college. He was like, get divorced. This is horrible. And I was like, what kind of a portrait of marriage is that?
Yeah, but they probably believed that they really were doing something good.
They totally thought, this is
and
the
they
best.
Just didn't say it.
We don't want him to be from a broken home. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. So what is your typical day like in LA? So what is you like? Okay, you're in Albuquerque, obviously, when you're filming. Now that you're done, you're gonna go back after you're in New York for a little while. You're gonna go back home, and then like, what's your life like?
Well, the first 2 weeks is staring at a wall and fighting mild depression. Is
it like after you're done, you feel like there's a
coming down?
Loss?
I mean, there's also just a mental, physical, and emotional this ball that does not stop rolling. It does not. I don't care if you woke up not feeling well today. I don't care if you're tired, but it does not stop rolling, and it stops. And that idea to go from motion to inertia is hard and jarring. And as hard as the job can be sometimes and demanding, to be allowed to be myopically focused on something you love is such a gift and such a high that you do have to come down off of it. You do have to. It's like you've been in acting camp for 5 months, and suddenly you don't have. I'm not using one of my appendages. That's what it feels like.
That's hard.
It's weird and hard, and you've also been very close, tight knit with this family of people. But for me, it's more about I need to immediately generate other work. I don't do well with time off. It's a part of my brain that if I don't exercise it, the other parts of my area, the other areas of my life suffer. It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be like if reading is what makes your brain and your emotions calm, and then someone said no more books. So you have to create and generate work for yourself, and I do. I'm editing. And I'm lucky that I'm busy. I'm not going to actually be sitting around. I won't be allowed to sit and stare, thank God.
That's good, because that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, I just directed by myself for the first time. I co-directed a short last season, but this season I directed one on 3 days off between shooting.
So where can people see this short?
Where I just finished shooting, so I'm going to edit it. Katie Strickland is the lead, and she's fantastic.
Oh, she was on Private Practice, and then that show, Shut Eye.
Yeah.
On Hulu.
Yes, she's so great.
She was also in that show.
Which one? She's so talented.
Was it Secrets and Lies, or am I mixing that up with something else? There was something with the guy Ryan Felipe.
I think she was in that. I never saw it. But
Yeah,
I think
but I
she was
forget
in
if
that.
that's the right name of the show. Okay, but never mind. So
I know what you're talking about, though.
So she, yeah, there was a murder, and they blamed him. Oh, you know what else was in it? Juliette Lewis.
Yes.
You know
but
what
I never
I'm
saw it.
talking
But I know
about?
what you're talking about. And I'm trying to write. I wrote the last piece I co-directed, so I'm trying to write some more. And then just talking to a couple people about projects to act in, because I want to act as soon as possible.
So, right. So you need to do that. But do you worry that, like, there's not going to be a job coming up? Like, is it that kind of thing? Or is it just that you feel like you need to be doing and doing what you love and also being productive?
Right. Well, I don't think, well, obviously there are some. I have not met many actors who don't have some level, not even actors, freelance. Anybody on our show is freelance. If you are not in a position to already know your next job, that terror always sneaks in, and you have to figure out how to moderate it and deal with it in a healthy way, because it's part of your job, is that it's not constant. But then again, even if you had a regular 401k job, people get let go all the time. It's not like there's job security in that.
Yeah, there's not the stability that used to exist in
there
another
isn't.
world.
But constantly, Patrick Faby and I are very much cut from the same cloth. We have a little imposter syndrome problem. So there is a part of you that goes, guess the gig is up. Mm-hmm. I'm a sham.
Right.
Finally caught on. But I try to work through that. Of course, I think everybody. I think so too. I've been doing it 22 years now, including theater, and it was always, every single job was like, that might be it.
Right.
I think that's it.
Right. I'm glad I had it, but now I'm like, okay, I can mourn it, and there'll be something different.
Yeah.
For me in the future. I think that's very common.
I do too.
Yeah. But it's hard. It doesn't make it easier to manage, knowing that other people go through
and
it
I
too.
would imagine it's no less difficult than any other person who's not in the arts or not in a subjective field, or worrying about how long will the current contentment of my life last. I feel like when it's a subjective thing that you do, as in being in the arts, you can sometimes feel rudderless. And this is a very bad thing that I work to have less and less of in my brain. But you can feel rudderless if someone is not telling you that you know how to do your job in that moment, because it's not math. I can't constantly prove every day that I'm a good mathematician and I've clearly solved yet another equation by 9 a.m. It's, oh, you're an actor? Did you act today? How'd that go? And I'm like, I was insane in my bathroom. Like, if you had seen my monologue. But that's the only thing I think is a little bit different with subjective art forms, and probably even freelance, because if you're an air conditioning repairman that's freelance and you haven't been hired for 2 weeks, it's very hard to not start thinking it's because you're not actually a very good air conditioning repairman.
Yeah, but at the same time, you kind of repair it or you don't. If you can repair it, at least you have those successes that are very tangible. Mm-hmm. Like a little bit easier, at least. It's easier to see when you do something like that, a little more concrete.
Yeah, I mean, after all these years, I've gotten to a place where I have started to be asked to talk to people, and tonight at Split Screens I'm doing this where they actually want to know my technique and my process, which is a very grab bag of all different methods and techniques that I've learned over the year, and then some that I just learned on the job. And that's an interesting experience to go, oh, I don't have any business telling somebody how to do this. And then I think, well, if I was just coming up in the business, I might I always loved hearing different people's techniques and stuff.
Yes, there are. You should be there describing it, and people do want to hear it.
But it's actually there's also this tiny sliver. If I get past feeling embarrassed of myself, which will be hard this evening, there's this tiny sliver of comfort because of exactly what you said. When I talk about what I do as a craft, as how to, and I tell you, here's the how-to to repair an air conditioning unit, that is what's comforting. Because that's not ethereal or intangible or ephemeral. It is a skill set that can only get better.
That's good. That's a good approach to take, and you'll be great tonight. I just feel it. I can tell. It's going to be great.
We'll see.
What's your biggest regret?
In life or in my career?
Life.
That's hard to say. There are many things I would have done differently in my youth, but I wasn't mentally or emotionally capable of making a different choice. So it's more, I wouldn't say, does that make sense?
It does, but what is it specifically?
I wish I had superpowers to help both of my parents be happier people with themselves after their divorce.
Okay. Well, that can almost not be a regret though, because you couldn't.
I behaved poorly when met with anxiety. I wasn't a terror, but I wish I'd handled myself better.
So you figured this out later? You kind of like had some...
I don't even think I could do differently. I think I behaved, I think I did the best I could for a 15 to 19-year-old. But
that's a tough time for your parents to be divorcing, for you to handle it in such a super powerful way.
Yeah.
Or like a
and my dad died of alcoholism, and so I wish I'd had superpowers to fix that. But
yeah,
I didn't.
Well,
I didn't.
You know, I mean, you're human.
Yes.
You were then, and you are now.
The rest of it, no. I was. It's funny. Somebody asked me the other day, like, do I regret not being more cutthroat and agenda-driven in my career? That maybe I would be much more famous. They said something to that degree, and it felt very insulting. And then I went home and thought, why did that strike such a chord? Why did that bother me so much? And I guess it's because I have trouble with what fame or success means anyway. Well, we were talking about people earlier. Like, I wouldn't want to not be able to walk down the street.
Right. Because clearly you do
but
have
I would
fame.
like to be able to greenlight the 5 scripts I read last year that I loved, and the director and writer and creator loved me, but the financiers wanted this list of like 10 actors that are enormous actors that would never do a project on this scale, but doesn't matter to them. So that's where you go like, okay, yeah, I guess famous, that would help, right? I could greenlight the stories that I want out there. I think
it's such a small part of, a small portion of people who can actually do it, and everybody wants those few people, and there are only a few people who would really be able to do that. Like, you'd have to be at such a level of fame. Right?
Yeah, but I can't say that I regret not being. I don't know. I could be better at the business side of it. I'm sure. But then there's other times where I'm at a party with someone that is just targeting who they have to speak to, and this, that, and the other, and I go, I don't want to be that either.
Yeah.
I think I could do better than being the person that just stays over by the food table, which is me. And I look for any person who can have a real conversation, because I'm very bad at small talk, and I'm very bad at smarmy talk, and I'm very bad at slick talk, and I'm not cool. So if there's one person who's capable of having a real conversation, you will find me there 4 hours into the party. I never made it past. There's many times I'm talking to whoever is right by the door, because I did not get into the rest of it.
But you're the person to talk to. Those are the good conversations. So somebody needs to find you next to the food table, because that's the best conversation to have.
Well, if anybody's looking for me, I'm over by the door. I'm over by the door.
Or by the door. So the last question that I always ask is 2 parts. So I feel like you kind of already answered it, but let's give it a shot anyway. Who do people think that you are? What's the image of Ray?
Oh, I thought you meant who they mistake me for.
Some people have said that
Claire
exact
Danes.
thing. Claire Danes, that's right. There is a Claire Danes-ism there. I never thought about it though.
A blonde Lauren Graham. Apparently, it's when I'm speaking and my gestures.
Your voice.
Specifically while acting. They will say it reminds them of her.
Funny. I never thought of either one, but I see both. Okay,
Yes.
that's who they think you are on the surface.
You mean that they're wrong about?
No, it can be right or wrong. It doesn't matter because the second part is who are you really?
Well, what's interesting to me is how I can tell what show you like me from, and even plays, by the way you approach me. So people think I am much like my character. So the people that like him are very tentative. People are more scared to walk up to me than some of the other roles I've played because they think I'm going to be severe. And then I tend to be much goofier than people think.
Okay, yeah. You know, I saw your goofiness on the show. What was it called? The Talking Saul, or what was it called? I'm getting it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Talking Saul.
Talking Saul?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember you were a guest on that. I remember it was so obvious, like, oh, you're such like a bubbly and fun person.
Goofy.
That's
fine.
Okay. That's fine. Okay, so now...
And I'm shorter than people think I am, which I don't know why. Oh, here's another weird compliment that you get. Either of these. You're so much bigger than I thought. And then the other one is, right? Or you look smaller in real life. I'm like, either way's bad. Just skip it. Skip it.
Right, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, hold on. There's a bonus Q&A at the very end after the music, so stick around. Or you can see it on video on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/reallyfamous. That was Rhea Seehorn. Catch her on Better Call Saul, seasons 1 to 3 on Netflix now, and season 4 coming out on AMC on August 6th. If you want to listen to my chat with Chuck McGill, in real life Michael McKean, also known as Lenny Kozlowski, by the way, from Laverne and Shirley, and the movie This Is Spinal Tap, click in the show notes. I also have a link to my interview with Zoe Lister-Jones, who Rhea and I talked about, who was Rhea's co-star on the TV show Whitney. If you own or work at a company that would like to get out the word about your product or service, shoot me an email at reallyfamouspodcast@gmail.com because we are now accepting sponsors. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson, and I will be back soon with another celebrity. Thanks for listening to Really Famous. Okay, what is the first thing you do every morning?
First thing I do, I drink a full glass of water.
What's the last thing you do before bed at night?
Read.
What is one of the weirdest habits you have?
I sometimes think that the crossword puzzle. I can't believe I'm saying. I do the crossword every day, and I sometimes think that they're messages from the universe.
What do you always have in your fridge?
Blueberries.
What's in your bag?
It's a book bag, and it is my laptop and tinted chapstick and my wallet.
What is your favorite restaurant?
Ever? Anywhere? That's hard. What? That's way too hard.
What is your favorite restaurant in New York?
My favorite restaurant in New York?
Your favorite restaurant in Albuquerque?
Oh, Los Poblanos. Los Poblanos in Albuquerque is my favorite restaurant.
And what is your biggest secret?
My biggest secret? What's my biggest secret? Really? People answer? I can't even think of one.
Who do people mistake you for?
Claire Danes.
And who does your voice sound like?
Apparently a man. If you, I don't know who my voice sounds like. I've heard Lauren Graham, and then any number of raspy or low register people you can think of. But I'll take all of them as compliments. What
is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve. I have lots. I am a pet peeve kind of person. I have lots. Shoes and socks off in the airplane. And people who cut in line.
What is your favorite store to shop in?
Oh, any bookstore.
Moving on to Better Call Saul. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say a character's name and you're just going to react. Jimmy McGill.
Paperclip.
Mike Ehrmantraut.
Crossword.
Gus Fring.
Tie.
Chuck McGill.
Music.
Howard Hamlin.
Posture.
Nacho.
Earring.
What's coming up in the next season?
Ugh. It's an insane season. A massive roller coaster of almost every single character having to completely recalibrate their ability to hang on.